we're talking about the #1 way to start owning rental properties without using any of your own money. I'm talking about the BRRRR method. Now, you might have seen other videos on the BRRRR method over the years, but I want to give you the updates for what you need to know about it. Mainly because there are so many new things that have happened in the last year, like rising interest rates, new loan programs, and even banks failing. So in this video, I'm going to give you the step-by-step guide on how to utilize the BRRRR method, what to look out for, and how I've personally done it over 30 times. If you're new to my channel, my name's Ryan Pineda. I'm a real estate investor and entrepreneur. I've got 6 businesses that are doing 7 and 8 figures a year. I've flipped over 500 homes, and I own over 550 plus rental units, the latter of which I've bought almost using none of my own money. So I'm coming from a place of experience when I tell you about this method and how to use it the right way. First off, let's go over what exactly BRRRR is. It stands for Buy, Renovate, Rent, Refinance, and Repeat. So let's first talk about the buy side, because this is going to make or break whether or not you have a BRRRR to begin with. In order for the BRRRR strategy to work properly, where you have no money at all into the deal, you are going to have to be all into a property for at maximum 80% of ARV. ARV stands for the after repair value, meaning the property is going to be worth that much once you get it fixed up. So to give you an example, let's say the ARV of a fixed up home is $500,000. 80% of that would be $400,000. So that would mean maybe I buy the house for $350,000, I put $50,000 in towards the renovation cost, and now I'm all in for $400,000. 80% represents the maximum that most banks are willing to give you towards a refinance. And we're going to get into different refinance options here later on in the video. But buying at a good enough discount is only one half of the equation. The other half is how much your mortgage is going to be after that refinance. A $400,000 mortgage might be $3,000 a month. And so you've got to run your numbers to see what are the rents, because if they're not significantly higher than $3,000 a month, then you're probably going to have negative cash flow every single month. And this is why the buy side of the BRRRR is so important, because if you don't get it at a deep enough discount, you're not going to be able to refinance and get all your capital back out. And if it doesn't cash flow, you're going to lose money every month. And if you're losing money every month, they may not even approve the loan. Now, on a side note, one of the reasons I'm so passionate about flipping and wholesaling real estate is because they are so dependent on finding good deals. And so in my coaching program, Wealthy Investor, we teach our students nationwide how to find great deals in any market, in any economy. And that's why I always say flipping is the backbone of any real estate investing strategy, because if you get really good at finding great deals, you can wholesale them out and make a quick profit right now. You can flip the property and go make a bigger profit. Or instead of flipping it, you can decide to just keep the property as a rental and do a BRRRR. But either way, learning how to flip lays the foundation for the BRRRR or the wholesale. If you're gonna BRRRR, you're gonna have to figure out how to find a great deal, how to raise the capital to buy it, and how to get that thing fixed up. And then your exit strategy just shifts a little bit. Instead of relisting it and selling it for a profit, you instead refinance it and keep it in your rental portfolio. So I'm a big fan of learning how to flip houses, and if you are interested in doing that, you can go to wealthyinvestor.com, apply for a free call from our team, and we can show you how you can start getting deals in your market today. Now, during the buy side of the BRRRR, the other part that I had just mentioned with flipping houses is you're gonna have to figure out where to get the capital. Now, typically when I do a BRRRR, I use what's called hybrid funding. So I get the majority of the purchase price from a hard money lender. The hard money lender is typically gonna give me about 90% of the total deal. So in the hypothetical case we've been using at $400,000 all in, they're gonna give me $360,000 of that. Now, for those of you who don't know, a hard money loan has higher fees, higher interest, and it's usually only a year. But as flippers or people who are looking to BRRRR, we don't really care about that, because we're either selling it as a flip or we're gonna refinance it as a BRRRR well before then. So don't fear getting a hard money loan if you're gonna do a BRRRR. Now, the other side of hybrid financing is when you get private money to cover the rest of it. So in this case, I said the hard money loan was gonna cover $360,000, and then I would go get a private lender to fund the $40,000 that I still need, plus a little bit extra on top of that to cover interest payments and other fees. And so in this case, I might go raise $50,000 from a private lender, and now, combined with the hard money, I'm able to buy this deal with none of my own cash. I have done this hundreds and hundreds of times towards flips, towards BRRRRs, and just towards all of my real estate purchases. My private investors have made millions of dollars of interest over the years investing with me. And most of them have been investing with me for a really long time because it's like clockwork. I go buy a property, they lend their money towards it, we end up refinancing or selling, they get their money back, I then get another property, we do it again. And this is exactly what you can do with a BRRRR. Basically, everyone can go get a hard money loan, and then you just gotta go find private money. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of people out there with $50,000 who don't know what to do with it. If you're watching this YouTube video right now, I'm sure there are people in the comments right now who've got over $50,000 who are thinking about doing a BRRRR. Now, if you've got $50,000 and you want to invest with me, well, I've got Pineda Capital for you if you want to go that route. But all joking aside, if you got $50,000, you could just go and get a hard money loan and fund it yourself instead of getting a private lender if you did want to go that route. But there's a catch to doing that during the refinance stage, which I'm going to talk about. But all in all, those are the things to keep in mind during the buy side of the BRRRR. Now let's talk about the renovate side. Now, once you buy this property, you're going to the renovation stage, and my hope is, especially if you got a hard money loan, you already had a budget and a bid from a contractor on what it's going to take to get this property looking right. I've done a lot of YouTube videos on how to hire contractors, how to budget repair requests. I will link to them down below. I'll probably end this video and tell you which one you can go watch about that. But my point is, I have so many free videos on the renovation process. So instead of just making this video super long, detailing everything about that, just make sure you're subscribed and check out those videos after this one. You'll learn how to estimate, you'll learn how to manage construction, and you'll learn how to not get screwed by a contractor. Now, assuming you did all the things I talked about in those videos, once the property is renovated, it's now able to go to the third step, which is rent. Now, rent should have already been accounted for during the buy side. Remember, we talked about how you already know what your mortgage would be on a refinance. So we got to make sure that the rent number is enough so that we aren't losing money every month. Now, there are lots of people who have different opinions on how much more you need in rent above your mortgage to actually cash flow. Because I got a news flash. If you're getting $3,000 a month in rent and you got a $3,000 mortgage, you are gonna lose money, not break even. Because you're gonna have what we call CapEx, or capital expenditures. This is when you factor in all of the other things that are going to happen to that home. You're gonna have maintenance, you're gonna have vacancy, you're gonna have things that break, you're gonna have to pay a property manager to manage the thing. But all of those expenses are gonna be variable depending on the price of the home, the age of the home, how much the property manager's charging. It's all variable. But to keep things safe, if you factor in everything that I'm talking about, it might cost you 30% of what the mortgage is. So on this $3,000 a month mortgage, we're probably gonna have, on average, $900 a month of expenses. It seems really high, but once you factor in replacing one really big item like a roof or an AC, you start to see that this averages out over time. But just so you know, because you just renovated the home, you're probably not gonna have any of these big items for a long time. And so you could get away with budgeting a lot less than that and hoping that later on, the rent rises and covers any extra expenses down the road, which isn't a bad bet in the right markets. Which even for a guy like me, I'll be honest with you, I am okay losing money on a monthly basis when you actually factor in everything because I'm getting so many other benefits by buying the rental property. I'm getting a huge tax write-off that is gonna cover any kind of losses I'd get on a monthly basis. I'm gonna get principal pay down from the tenant. I already know I bought a good deal, so I'm gonna get an increase in net worth. And over time, I'm gonna get both price and rental appreciation. I live in Las Vegas. If you just look at properties 5 years ago, what they were worth and what they're renting for today, it's basically doubled. I remember running comps in good neighborhoods for $300,000 ARVs that were renting for $1,800 a month. I would run the numbers as a burn. I'm like, oh, this is gonna lose money. I don't wanna buy this. Well, 5 years later, that $300,000 home is now worth at least $500,000, and it's renting for at least $3,000. So it's cash flowing a ton. The property's gone up in value a ton. And so it was the right move to buy it back then, even though it didn't necessarily make sense on a cash flow basis at that time. But back then, I also didn't understand taxes, because if I did, I would have definitely bought that deal. Because the depreciation and the tax write-off would have actually made me net positive on a monthly cash flow basis, because I wouldn't have had to pay that much in taxes. So all in all, everyone's gonna be different, but one thing I can say is right now, in this current climate with higher interest rates, getting a true BRRRR that actually cash flows in an appreciation market is close to zero. There are not a ton of properties that you're all in for $400,000 that are getting $4,000 a month in rent in appreciation markets. And so you're gonna have the choice of going to a cash flow market where you can get true good cash flow, but you're gonna have way less upside on appreciation, or you're gonna go to an appreciation market knowing that, hey, right now, it doesn't make much sense. I might be losing a little money on the cash flow basis, but I'm gonna make up for it with the tax write-offs. And in the next 5 to 10 years, I know that this property is gonna be worth way more and it's gonna rent for way more. I personally am a big fan of appreciation investing just because I've seen it time and time again, and I like these other cities because hedge funds and everyone else are going to them because they see it as well. And where the big money's buying, I know things are gonna go up. Now, once you get this property rented, whatever it ends up being, you're then gonna go in for your refinance. Now, refinance is where things get fun and where people get tripped up because there's lots of different ways to do this, so let me break it down. Now, there are two different types of loans you can get when you refinance. One is called rate and term, the other is called cash out. Rate and term is when you don't take any cash out, you're just refinancing the existing debt. And so in the hypothetical case we've been using this whole time, we've got 2 loans on the property that are a total of $400,000. If I get a rate and term refinance, I am just going to refinance both of those loans out and get one new loan for $400,000. Now this is great because my new loan is gonna be long-term, it's gonna be a cheaper interest rate, and it's gonna return all my investor capital so that I can go buy another BRRRR. The other great part about rate and term is you're able to go up with higher leverage. Typically you can do 80% loan to value, whereas a cash out refi is gonna be less. Now let me add one little expert secret that I know you guys are gonna get a ton of value out of, and if you do get value out of this, you gotta do me a favor and leave a comment below and say, hey, I've never heard that, thank you. Because I don't hear anybody talking about this, but it is so important. Now the secret with a rate and term is that if you are going to get 2 loans on the property, a hard money and a private money loan, you have to make sure that they both are on the original settlement statement when you buy the property. That means your lender's gonna have to wire directly to title, as well as your hard money lender. They both need to be on the settlement, and they both need to close with them right there, recording their liens and their loans on that first day. This is so important because if it's not on there and you go get private money from a friend and they transfer it to you outside of escrow, or they give it to you and then they record a lien the next day for the second position note, rate and term will not acknowledge it. The reason is if you don't, you're gonna have to wait for 6 months of seasoning before they'll acknowledge both loans for a rate and term refinance. Most people think that you always have to wait 6 months, but it's not true. If they were all on the settlement statement from the get-go, you could go refinance for the new ARV next month with a lot of lenders. I've done it before with great success, and I've done it the other way where I learned the lesson and now I'm telling you today. The other way where I go get the money outside of escrow and it's not on the settlement statement does not allow me to get the full rate and term refinance on both loans. They've got to be on that original purchase settlement statement. That's what they're going to look at when you're under 6 months. So make sure you do it the right way if that is going to be your exit strategy. Nobody ever talks about this, but it is so crucial if you're trying to refi before 6 months. Pretty good tip, right? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, cash out refi will be when you actually get cash back out of the deal. Now with cash out refi, many banks are only willing to do 70 to 75%, so you're not gonna get as much leverage. Also, in most cases, if you try to do a cash out refi in the first 6 months of owning the property, they're usually only gonna give you the value based on your purchase price, not the ARV. Let's just say I bought the house for $350,000 with all my own cash. If I tried to do a cash out refi within the first 6 months, they're only gonna give me 70 to 75% of $350, not the $500,000 ARV. And so this brings me back to my opinion, if you are gonna do BRRRRs, even if you have your own cash, I would still go get hard money loans and private money loans and buy them together so that you can get a rate and term refinance right from the get-go without having to wait 6 months. The moment it becomes cash out, all the rules get harder, your leverage decreases, and the rates are higher. I think cash out refinances are great. I've done them on many of my properties after years of owning them and once they've appreciated a lot in value. But when you're trying to just do a normal BRRRR within a few months, cash out refi isn't really what you're gonna do. You're gonna end up doing a rate and term. Also, on the refinance part, if you're gonna go do any of these loans with just normal conventional methods, you're gonna have to have your tax returns in order. You're gonna have to have worked in the same industry for at least 2 years. If you're an entrepreneur or small business and you're having trouble qualifying for loans, you got to make sure your taxes are done the right way. And as a side note, if you had no idea, I own a tax firm called TrueBooks, where we have hundreds of real estate investors and entrepreneurs nationwide that we service. You can go get a free call from our team by going to TrueBooksCPA.com. But taxes are going to be so important when you're applying for any of these conventional refinances. So what I would say is, if you're going to do a BRRRR, you gotta make sure that you can actually get the loan. But even if things go south and you can't get the loan, as long as you bought it right with the BRRRR, you can still go flip the property and make a lot of money. Which goes back to why I'm a big fan of flipping houses, because you have so many different exit strategies. But the last thing I'll say about refinance is that there are so many different types of loans now. I've seen loans that have to do with short-term rentals, if you have income from Airbnb and them using that Airbnb rent rolls. I've seen people using what's called DSCR loans. This is debt service coverage ratio loan. These ones don't evaluate it so much on your personal credit or tax returns, but they look more so at the rent and making sure that that's gonna cover the mortgage. These are all good options. I've used lots of different loans in order to do BRRRRs on my own properties. And as I said before, in our coaching program, we have students doing this all over the country. We have great lenders that we partner with to help them out. So if you want to learn more about the coaching programs and how to go get BRRRRs and flips and wholesales, go to wealthyinvestor.com. Now, the last part of the BRRRR is repeat. So once you refinance and you get the cash back out, you then repeat the process. Go find another good deal, go get that thing fixed up, get it rented out, refinance it again, get your investor's capital back out, and keep on doing it. The beauty is, as you start BRRRRing and stacking up properties, your net worth starts to increase, you start getting more tax write-offs, all of a sudden these properties start appreciating, your rents are starting to go up, your cash flow goes up. Real estate is one of those things where when it first happens, it's kind of like whatever, to be honest, because you're not making a ton of money. And then you look at it 5 years later and you're like, wow, I cannot believe how much these properties have gone up, how much more they're cash flowing. This is amazing. So remember, when it comes to building wealth in real estate, you can make money quick from flipping and wholesaling, and you can build long-term wealth through rental properties and using things like the BRRRR method. But anyways, I hope you got value out of this video. As I said previously, I've done a ton of different videos on how to handle the construction side of real estate investing. So go check out this next one if you're interested in learning about construction, and I'll see you on the next video.